in 2008, our product, 7 Plus Classic, before we even developed performance or premium focus, there was a group of patients out in western part of the United States. And a researcher at one of the western universities, his family consisted of 8 diabetics, severe diabetics. And somebody sold a bottle of 7 Plus Classic to one of his family members, and their blood sugar levels really changed. And so they bought more bottles and gave it to all 8 of the people. And 8 out of 8 people, after measuring their blood sugar, they had incredible changes. Now, a researcher was the head of the family. And so he, upon his own, commissioned a 600-person human clinical trial on how 7 Plus Classic affects blood sugar levels. And that was published in a pharmaceutical journal. And we don't try to promote that study, but if you Google blood sugar and eXfuze, you will see in a scientific journal eXfuze 7 Plus Classic in the title on that 600-person study. So we know we've got great opportunities to help people, again, not treating diabetes, but helping the body normalize blood sugar, a very critical issue. And it's so devastating now that type 2 diabetes in the scientific literature is called adult onset diabetes. And it should occur in the 8th and 9th decade of life, which means you're 80 to 90 to 100 years old is when the physiology should change to allow your body to develop adult onset diabetes. In the U.S., it's happening in elementary school children. So when the body is not regulating itself, devastating changes occur, and it impacts health in a dramatic way. So our product becomes a great tool in stabilizing blood sugar and hopefully not allowing that condition to move on to a condition like diabetes. Another area, we've had a lot of people around the world that have had severe trauma to the body. And trauma requires repair and regeneration. And a lot of times trauma leaves people in chronic pain. And a lot of people that have lived with chronic pain have had a friend, had a neighbor, had a loved one, care enough about them to say, you know, we've got a product that may help you. And a lot of those chronic pain patients got on our product and their pain levels went down, and some of them to the point where they're no longer on narcotic medication. They're off of that. Their pain has gone down, and some of those people are no longer medicated and are pain-free. And so the ability to help people with pain is a critically important issue. In the clinical setting, when people are in pain, after a period of time, it changes their brain chemistry, sets up an area in the brain where the patient is now depressed. And it sets up a downward spiral to the point where some of those people actually commit suicide because they cannot live and tolerate the pain. So an innocent product like ours can sometimes have incredible life-changing opportunities for people in trauma and pain. Another one that's critical is the brain and the central nervous system. And these disorders are anything like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's disease, even multiple sclerosis, anything that affects the central nervous system and the nerves themselves. We've seen incredible things happen with those patients. I did a study back in the 1990s with one compound that's in our product, and that's aloe vera. It's one of the constituents of our product. And we had a group of people up in an area in northern Washington state where the most people with multiple sclerosis in the world are concentrated. And we had over 200 people taking our aloe vera product back in the early 1990s. Over 200 of those MS patients, instead of going up and down, one lady that was in a wheelchair could not walk. Her husband happened to be a minister, so everybody knew her, got out of her wheelchair and started walking again. So they had the courage to put a lot of MS patients on aloe vera, and it changed a lot of people's lives from a symptomatic standpoint. And so we know we have an opportunity to help people with central nervous system disorders. Ideally, take it before you ever get those kinds of things. But again, we're seeing some incredible things. Blood and vascular abnormalities. Blood-borne illnesses are beginning to be a huge problem. Not so much as maybe brain disorders or blood irregularities, but one of the phenomena here in the blood system is cardiovascular disease. And it's the number 1 or 2, depending on the month or week the research is done. Cancer and heart disease are the number 1 and 2 killers on the planet. And so when we see the ability to get the blood system normalized, we have great opportunities to help people maintain their health. So that's another area that's been incredible. Another one, abnormal tissue growth. And these can be as simple as a wart or a mole on the skin. Those are all abnormal growths. And we've seen people that had moles all over their face, neck, and body begin to take our product, and they noticed they started falling off. Those abnormal growths began to change in coloration, and then they began to fall off. And we don't know how that happens, but it happens. And the abnormal growth, if it's there long enough, causes damage to the DNA. It mutates, and it goes into a process called cancer. And so the ability of these products to work on abnormal tissue growth gives us the opportunity to prevent cancerous processes from beginning. And in the scientific literature, botanicals have been shown to work on all phases of the cancerous process: initiation, progression, and tumor formation. That's in the scientific literature. Again, we make no claims about that, but if I'm going to do something, I want to have some tools in my nutritional regime that has the opportunity to stop any of these processes from happening. And that's my passion. I started this 45 years ago for me, selfishly. I wanted to be healthy. And so I was a research engineer studying nutrition. And I got so consumed with it, I became a doctor to do it. And again, I did it for me because I wanted to live a long, healthy life absent of disease. And most people, when I started in the 1960s, 40 was an old person. And I wanted to be the best 40-year-old I could be. And the best strategy that I could do was get clean air, get pure water, quality, quantity correctly, eat good food, exercise properly, and then supplement correctly. And if you do that correctly long enough, it'll change your body function and physiology. And so I've been doing that 45 years. And the great news is technology, we now are able to measure the age, the biological age of our tissues. And so here's a 67-year-old guy that 40 years ago at UCLA, or when I was 45 years old, at UCLA they had a test to test your biological age. And I took that test, and I was age 28 when I was 45, according to their scale of biology. And they asked me, how could that be possible? We've tested thousands of people, and everybody's testing their age or older, and you're testing 15, 16 years younger. And they didn't get it. I told them, well, you know, I eat right, I exercise, I take nutritional supplements, and that was not very well thought of. Well, last year I did the test again, and I'm 67 now. My age was younger than it was 15 years ago, biologically, and now they're very shocked. But there's more information and more science now about how that is happening. So what I'm telling you is that the incorporation of these botanicals can slow, stop, and reverse aging when done properly. So those are important things. So why do the products work so well? That was the question. And there's two reasons. We believe because of our scientific knowledge and science. And we've spent a lot of time on this side of the equation. But more important than that, because it's not about humans, it's about capturing the plant biological properties. Because the scientists that I work with and the scientists now at the highest levels do not have an understanding of how plants have created a chemistry that humans can consume, and it changes the human function. That's not understood by science very well. So we know that. We've studied that, and so we're going to talk about those two things and try to give you an answer of why these products work so well. And I've talked about this before. As a business opportunity, you want to know that what you're representing has a strength in the marketplace. And one of the things that we are very expert at eXfuze is botanical extraction science. And we've been doing it for well over 100 years as a scientific team. Matter of fact, two of my mentors are now in their 80s. And one of them holds 39 patents on the aloe vera plant and how to extract it and how to get its molecular structures exactly right. And the other one has got over 200 pharmaceutical patents on how to make drugs out of these plants. And so we've got an enormous amount of experience on the science side. And I usually talk about first academic research, because some of our researchers are much like the doctor that came to me, PhDs in the field of biotechnology, biochemical engineering. And a lot of the work that they have done has created incredible scientific discoveries. So because of these individuals, we have access to some of the most elaborate scientific equipment in the most prestigious laboratories on earth, all the way up to Harvard, MIT, University of London, University of Wisconsin, some places that are who's who in the area of science. So on the academic side, we've got some guys that that's all they do. They live in laboratory research. So that's very helpful. On the clinical research side, this is where I've spent my life. Not so much academically, even though I understand it a little bit, but I understand what it's like to put aloe vera or mangosteen in a human and measure the results when they have a bad pregnancy going on, or they've got migraine headaches that nobody has been able to help, or they have terminal cancer and all the doctors said you need to go home and get ready to pass to the next world. And so I have to face those patients, and medicine, in the last 10 doctors that they've seen and the $200,000 that they've spent, there's no hope. And so somebody referred them to me, and I use botanical therapy, and in weeks, months, and sometimes even a year, miraculous changes have occurred in a lot of those people. So I've had the opportunity to put these botanicals in thousands and thousands of sick, suffering humans and measure those results. And so that's what I've been able to bring to the table. Some of our mentors and some of our team are experts in the field of making nutritional products, the processing and the manufacturing, so that they retain these plant chemicals so that they will be effective in the human body. So the scientific side of it, we've got a fairly good resume, but that's not the whole answer. Some of our team members are pharmacologists. They make and understand drug-drug interactions extremely well. So when we developed these products and formulated them, we had some design ideas in mind. And one of those design ideas was this product is going to go out across the world, and we're not in the clinical setting where I can control what is going on, and I have a history of what drugs people are taking. So we had to formulate these so that they would be complementary to most medications that are on the market. And as some of it I've talked to you about before, while I've been here, certainly we've done it tonight. With the exception of 3 categories, our products are pretty complementary with all medications, with the exception of chemotherapy. We always want to work with the doctors in chemotherapy whenever there's blood thinners involved, because these botanicals naturally balance the blood system, and if you're on a blood thinner and our product's making your blood normal, that blood thinner is going to become overactive. And so that's the second category. And another one is patients that are on dialysis. Our products work extremely well on the function of the liver, and it causes the liver to do its job extremely well, which means it's going to detoxify the body. And if the kidneys are not working and the person's on dialysis, you can create a real crisis and potentially death. So when those 3 conditions show up, we always, as a company, recommend anytime anybody's involved with some kind of pharmaceutical medicine, consult with a doctor. Let them look at the label of our product, and all of our ingredients are listed on that label. And the question becomes, are any of these fruits contraindicated for this patient under this condition? And if the doctor says, well, mangosteen, noni, well, those are good for the body, then our product is going to be okay. But if they say, you know, I think that because that sea buckthorn has got the tremendous opportunity to help detoxify the liver, that's not going to be a good thing for this patient at this time, we do not want to use that product. So whenever persons are taking medication, we always say consult with the doctor, work with that doctor so that they understand for the good of the patient. So formulating a product is critically important. Each one of these botanical species contain carbohydrates, fats, proteins, enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and thousands of phytochemical structures that we've just discovered. Probably 16 years ago, they were first discovered. And now they're being researched to the point where there's over 400,000 research projects been done on these phytochemicals and how they impact health. But that has not penetrated medicine and the scientific arena to the point where it's out in the general public. So formulating these things together, very, very critically important, and we've done it so it would be the most effect for the most people in the general population. Because of our scientific background and the years that a lot of our colleagues have spent making products for the pharmaceutical industry, the nutraceutical industry, we've developed proprietary technologies that only are being applied to our eXfuze products. And again, that's the first time that that has happened in the direct sales